That makes sense. Which I do want to move over to the hot topic, and that Space Slurpies, you have quite a bit of hands-on experience with the new Vive Flow.
Yes.
So I didn't pull it up like an idiot, but I'm not going to go over the Vive. Hey, I see myself.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go over the specs, everything like that. But what I do want to pick your brain is, first of all, how did you get in touch with HTC and make the decision to try your hand over onto a headset so different than we've ever seen before?
Yeah, it's a pretty cool journey, and I gotta hand it to HTC. Like, I am so grateful that they gave us this opportunity because we're probably the smallest studio they worked with, especially if we're talking about like launch partners and being their keynote. I'm looking around at when I went to the press event, I'm looking at the other CEOs, and they all have like multi-million dollars of funding. I'm like, wait, what am I doing here? And so it's amazing that HTC supported this, but it's a pretty cool journey. Our relationship with HTC started with Virus Popper. There's a couple people on their team, Maria and David from HTC, that they saw the content and they were like, who are these developers? Because this is brilliant. We need to meet them. And so they just like set up a phone call because literally they wanted to chat with us. That's like where that ended. But I guess my advice to anybody is business is all about relationships, right?
Yes.
And so that's the first time they met us. HTC like knew our name was when we built Virus Popper. They just thought it was a great idea and a great concept. And then later we go on to release Space Slurpies, of course, let them know about it. And I think they did a good job of supporting the launch. We got a little bit of a social media push, which is wonderful. And then the big chance that they took on us was the Vive Focus 3. So this was their business standalone headset, for anybody watching that doesn't know, primarily a commercial product. And so we knew about it. Everybody knew about it. It was announced pretty early. But as a game studio, we didn't really see it in the cards as something we were going to develop for because it was a business application. Sure. But then we get the call from HTC and they're like, people learn VR by playing games. We need more games on this headset. Would you be interested in would you be interested in porting to the Vive Focus 3? We're like, yeah, absolutely. Sign us up. And so they sent us one and I was like, can we do it at launch? Launch was like 2 weeks away. They were like, no, there's no way. Like, just we'll get it on the store and it'll be great. I was like, okay. Then I get a call on a Friday and they're like, so if you did finish by Monday, could you do it on launch? And I of course, you say yes to that, right?
Yes.
My co-founder walked in. He's like, that's a very nice email you wrote to HTC. I'd feel good if I were them. But I'm not HTC. How the heck are you going to pull this off? I was like, you don't choose that. You just have to say yes, and then you make it happen. So we made it happen. We ported to the headset in like literally 2 days. Thankfully, HTC uses this very updated system, XR Toolkit. So if you're on the latest, greatest Unity and SDK tools, it's actually not hard to port to their devices. So we did that. We knocked that out. And I think that's really what built us some credibility as a studio to HTC, even though we're teeny tiny. And so that's when a few months later, after the Vive Focus 3 launch, they just set a meeting on my calendar and said, hey, we want to talk to you about something. No idea what it was. And then they outline, this is the HTC Vive Flow. This is what we're planning to do. Would you be interested in launching on this device? And then, again, of course, you just say yes.
Yes.
You take every opportunity. If somebody's going to throw you a bone, like, you want to make good on it. And so we said, yeah, not only will we do it, we'll do it as soon as possible. And according to them, hopefully I'm allowed to share this, we were literally the first app to be completed and developed for the headset. So then at that point, thank you. And so then at that point, they're like, well, you want to, like, I guess, yeah, you're launching with us. Your app works first. So, like, let's see what we can do. And so that's when, like, then they gave us the opportunity of, all right, we're going to launch. We're going to, put this game in people's hands. And then would you like to join us on this press tour and talk to some of the press about the headset? And so the opportunities came, and I'm just extremely humbled. I'm extremely glad because HTC is a huge company, and I totally understand, honestly, if they'd write us off as an indie studio, but they didn't, and they said, hey, these guys they're delivering. Let's give them a shot, and support that. And so it's been a great experience working with them.
And when it comes to this flow, so like
Yeah.
my anxiety is like 10 out of 10 on like VR hardware announcement days, because like you're bombarded with good, with bad, with information, with hype. Like it's overwhelming, mostly because you care.
Yeah.
If you didn't care, it would be meaningless. But a lot of people care. I want to focus on the positives. What do you see from the flow that adds to the XR scene right now? Like what did you like about it? Can you give us any details, hands on, since you've had it? And I don't know anyone that I've spoken with who's used it other than content creators who have posted videos. But from your perspective, what was good about it? What is interesting about this product compared to what's out there?
Yeah. So obviously it is beautiful. It's lightweight. It's very comfortable. I think all those things are like very apparent from the marketing and the images. You can probably tell that. So the thing I'd share that most people didn't realize, and like when we talked to the press in LA and New York City, even the press wouldn't have expected, is this sucker's powerful. And like from a performance perspective, I'm not going to go into spec because I don't think HTC would want me to, but I will just tell you this is we have gotten used to, I listed all the headsets that we're on. We've ported to many headsets at this point, and pretty much every time we port to a headset, we have to do a performance tuning exercise and throttle the game to make it work in mobile VR. Oddly enough, I didn't have to throttle at all for this device. We ran it like right out of the box. The version that we had running off of the Vive Focus 3 just worked on these glasses. And what's amazing about that, a lot of people don't even realize, is all of that processing is in these glasses. And
actually, keep that up for a second, because like I don't look at the hand, look at the headset, just for comparison, because obviously if you see it on a picture, there's not really a way to identify how big it is, but that's actually a lot smaller than I expected when you picked that up.
Yeah. And in fact, let me grab like the Vive Focus 3, for example. Do you mind?
Oh, yeah. Do your thing. And just for the reference, guys, I will link the specs of this headset in the video description. I don't want to keep those secret. I do not have them up right now, but they will be in the video description, so you do know the specs, so you're aware of those.
Yeah, so I think this is what amazed me the most, is like this is the Vive Focus 3. Very comfortable, very powerful headset. And when you look at it, you would expect it to be powerful. You're not surprised by the field of view and the ability of it. A little dark, but you can kind of see. But then, you get these glasses, and I mean, let's just be honest. The expectations are probably set a lot lower. I think people are expecting this to be like an Oculus Go or like the early VR days. And it's not. I mean, this thing, like, it packs a punch. And even though you use a phone as a controller, to be clear, none of the processing is taking place on the phone. It's all taking place on these guys. And as a developer, that was very impressive to me. And I was like really happy when we ported to this device that it wasn't a performance exercise. Really, the only exercise for us was like rethinking the controls of how we're going to use the phone instead of like a traditional VR 6-DoF controller.
Can you give any insight to your thoughts on using the phone as a controller? For example, I've seen some people pretty interested, thinking that it's a good idea. I've seen, of course, the opposite, that it's awful. But from someone who's used it, how has it worked for you? What are the positives? And if you could give any negatives, I'd be open to just hearing kind of the constructive feedback on a phone as a controller in this day and age.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say if it comes to like shipping with a controller, and I think early versions, they looked at 3-DoF controllers, and who knows what they might do in the future. But as we were developing, when I got the call that they're sticking to the phone, my gut was that was the right call. For this device is 100% the right call. Because our phones these days, like our accelerometers and gyros are so finely tuned, it is already a great device for tracking movement. And this is intended to be a device that's used on the go, that's used in casual and sometimes even public settings. And I personally wouldn't want to carry a controller with it. And so I think it's a great idea to use the phone with the device. Now, the question of like, well, but is it a good experience to use the phone? And I guess there's probably a lot of comparisons out there to like other mobile, like true mobile VR headsets, not these immersive glasses, that it's not really an apples to apples comparison because this isn't trying to be one of those. This is intended to be a more mobile experience where you can enjoy VR on the go. And I think using the phone's a great choice for that. From a developer perspective, I think you can't look at it and say like, oh, I can't do the things that I can do with a real 6-DoF controller. It's like, yeah, you can't. So like, how are you going to rethink your content for this device? And for us, that was a challenge we were excited about. I mean, we looked at these things, we felt they were the future. And if we have to reimagine our controls for the game, like that's one of the most fun exercises I've had in months. And so we got a blast out of it. We're like, okay, instead of tracking with the hand, what if we use the rotation of the phone to control the direction of your snake? And what's cool for us is this actually took it back to almost more classic snake mechanics, because now your snake's moving at constant speed. It speeds up as you eat the edibles. So it's a different type of game, and I love that. I love that we are able to use the same concept and IP. We bring the content in front of you, so it's more casual than just full like room scale experience. And so I don't know. My advice to like developers is don't get too upset that it's not the same experience as like a standalone VR headset. Like think creatively of what can you do with this device and what it's uniquely able to do.
Perfect. Before I hijack this conversation a little bit, inputting some thoughts I have that I'd be curious to hear is, one last question I have for you about this is, I can't actually, one thing about the phones, I just think it's important to clarify because I don't want anyone to get confused and pre-order this. Please, I will, like I said, I'm going to link the specs to this in the video description. Also note that for the phone, it is required, correct me if I'm wrong, but it is required to set up this device, and it does need to be an Android phone. So please look into phone support on the website before making decisions on this. I think that is important to clarify. That way iPhone users and Samsung users don't just go directly to pre-order this and have problems. Do you know of any rumors of hand tracking or other phone support coming since you've worked with them on this? If you can.
Yes, I'm not HTC, so I definitely can't make any promises, but I can tell you that when we were with the press on the press tour, what was communicated is that absolutely both options are under investigation, being worked on. I think a huge part of what HTC was doing is like, this is a new category, this is a new type of device, and so they're wanting to get it out there and start that progress forward, which is admirable. And then I think they're going to make iterations in the future.
Perfect. Yeah, I just think it's important to clarify that because obviously, we are excited when new tech comes out, and personally, and that's why I'm going to hijack this conversation, I think there is a place for things like this, but we still need to clarify because I don't want someone to get the hype train, buy something, and realize that, hey, I can't actually even use this. I think that's important. But that's kind of where I wanted to go with this is that, like, I'll be frank, the device is not for me. That's just, I think a lot of people, but that's not a bad thing. One thing that I'm happy to see is I do think the form factor, it seems like where everyone's going, and I'm all for it, lightweight. But one thing that I want people to take into consideration and use my platform to kind of preach here, look up where an Oculus Quest can be sold. It's very few countries, guys. Like very few. Like if you list them off and then take up a map and color them in, it's very little parts of the world. Yes, this is not a device that I think most of my friends are going to be buying or using. However, it does at least open up a very nice form factor and options for more of the world. And I would like to start seeing a little more encouragement of the we than the I in these hardware releases, if that makes sense.
I definitely agree with those statements on multiple fronts. I think this has huge impact for an international market that needs and will embrace this type of device. And I don't think HTC is hiding the fact that like this is not a gaming headset. As far as I know, I think we may even be like the only, if not one, definitely one of the few like true games on the device, because most of like it's not built for that kind of content. And so you're right. Like, it's not for everybody. It's for, well, it's not for, I think, the typical enthusiasts that jump into VR first. But what people need to realize is that by creating a different type of device, these glasses, what HTC is doing is they're widening the market for people that weren't traditionally interested in VR. And that's a great thing for all of us. You know, the tide rises all ships type of thing. Like,
Yep,
if you look, if you look at who HTC was inviting and bringing to these press events, like, they're bringing it into a more lifestyle fashion circle to target a mainstream audience that wouldn't normally put on a VR headset. You know, we talked to a lot of Instagram influencers that had never tried VR before, and that's a great thing. If you love VR, you should be excited about that because you want everybody immersed in VR, all types of people immersed in VR, because that's the only way we're going to move the space forward to what we want it to be.
I mean, let's be honest. There's wide swaths of the world, even ones who have access to an Oculus Quest or high-end like VR rigs, that if you showed them a DK1, because of how unfamiliar they are with everything, you'd blow their fucking mind. Like with a DK1, let's just be honest. Like, you're not gonna blow my mind with a DK1 right now. It's gonna hurt my eyes and be awful. But you show my grandparents about it, it's gonna blow their mind because they have no reference. It's just anything I can do or anything I can see to get this kind of shit in people's hands. All boats rise, like you said. It's going to help everyone out.
Correct, but the problem with the DK1s and most headsets out there is that not everybody is willing to try them. Yes. They're intimidating, and I've been to conventions where, you know, we've got our headset and we're saying, hey, you know, do you want to try out this game? And somebody's like, I don't think I want to. And they've never tried VR, and they're almost not willing to try VR because the headset looks clunky. It's for sure going to mess up their hair, and you know, they're not willing to jump into an experience. But a company ships something that looks like a pair of Epic sunglasses. A lot more people are willing to try this on, which, yeah, raises all ships.
Hit that subscribe button to stay on top of the daily clips, or catch the debates and Fireside Chats live on the main channel down in the video description. See you next time, Space Cowboys.